Hi. Hi. This is a pretty cool day for me. I'm so happy my friends and family are here to share this moment with my class and I. This is my friend Joe. He is a coconut. I saved him from a hanging in southern Florida during our senior trip. Mr. Baker told me that no one has ever had a prop for their graduation speech. I don't know why not. After all, if there comes a point in a speech where you get bored or if you don't want to listen, it's always nice to have something abstract to distract yourself with. Okay. For a while, my roommates and I had him hanging by the ceiling fan in our room. However, the prospect of getting our skulls crushed was too much for us to bear, so I brought him here. There are many graduation speeches that I've heard in the past that focus on one's accomplishments and achievements. Hardly any thought is given to the fact that every good and perfect thing cometh from above, and of ourselves there is no good thing. Our lives are like a canvas, and with every action, with every word, with every thought, we paint a picture. This picture represents us, who we are, down to our very core. Our actions throughout the day add strokes of different colors and types to this picture. We go about this carelessly and fill our canvas with strokes of envy, deceitfulness, strife, evil murmurings towards others. Soon enough, we take a step back and realize just how much we've made a mess of our canvas, of ourselves. We fall on our knees, drop our brush, and with quivering lips acknowledge our deficiency, our mistakes, and our weakness. It is at this time that a Redeemer draws near. He bends over us in love and compassion and puts his hand upon us in pitying tenderness. With an eager yet meek voice, he asks, "May I have my way with you?" Soon this master painter is at work on the beautification of our feeble creation. Slowly but surely, the master brings about restoration from our former desolation. With our hand in his, the master now guides the strokes that are laid upon the canvas. With every act of service, with every prayer, with every victory, and with every surrender, new strokes are added to the painting. No longer is there any worry as to what the outcome might be, for a master is behind the finished product. I remember when I first pulled into Heritage Academy driveway, I figured that any place without paved roads must not be civilized or even halfway decent, so I quickly turned to my mother and pleaded with her to take me back to civilization. However, my fears somewhat subsided as I pulled up to the ad building and saw the bustle and activity of the newly registered students. I'd only applied 2 weeks prior to the first day of school, so you can imagine that I had a lot of questions. All my previous schooling was done at day academies located near where I live in Michigan. It was strange thinking that I would be leaving so many things behind. I would hardly see any of my friends, and the constant trips to swim practice would no longer be a part of my life. I would no longer be following my mother to her club meetings or social events at the 3 churches that my dad pastors. The prospect of stability was alluring to my family and I, who were, of course, asked to move quite frequently. But my dad also had received the impression from some of his pastor friends that Heritage was spiritually focused. So, as you can imagine, my parents were pretty happy about that. I didn't really see why. I wasn't really used to having spirituality in my academic life, or my life at all, for that matter. You see, I had come to a point where it didn't matter anymore. I was the son of a pastor, and I felt as if everything there was to know I knew. Having a knowledge of God, but never experiencing him, is a dangerous predicament. Hearing constantly about what God had done for others and how he had changed their life was repulsive to me because I had never experienced it. This led to so much doubt and total dependence upon myself and what I could accomplish. The rules and requirements in my religion were but empty, meaningless motions that were to keep a God I had never met happy. Because of this, they soon became obstacles that I was to overcome. So friends, I can't say that when I came to Heritage, I was open to learning about God or becoming more like Jesus. Instead, I came with the intent of showing others just how much I didn't care about him. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? I was immersed in a very secular atmosphere for the very first 2 years of high school. It was there that I received a calling not from God, but from the world. I was called to act a certain way because of who my friends were. how I looked, and what I could do. This calling was what I was going to find happiness in. I understood the principle that no man can serve two masters, and because of this, I sided myself fully with the world and what I thought would make me happy. I was wrong, however, for the things that many so highly esteem are really meaningless and have no reward. Don't get me wrong, you can fill your life with many things that will make you temporarily happy. You can entertain yourself from the time you wake up to when you lay your head down at night, but ultimately, these things do not answer the questions of your heart nor the longings of your soul. And when you don't measure up, a sense of misery and defeat comes upon you. You base your worth off of what you've done, how others look at you, and how close you are to replicating the great and famous in your world. My mother understood what was happening. I remember the sadness in her eyes as she helped me get ready one morning. I was about to return to school since Christmas break was drawing to a close. I can hardly imagine what it must have been like for her, constantly praying and crying over the agonizing fact that I wanted nothing to do with her God. I had caused her to experience grief before, but this time was different. I had been going through several things in my life that had made me feel as if I was losing control. I no longer had the confidence I once had in myself and my achievements. I had started to realize just how weak I really was. The look in her eyes touched me in a way that's hard to describe. Knowing that I was hurting someone who showed me nothing but love and kindness hit a chord in my soul that awakened deep emotions. I wanted help. I wanted God, but I couldn't even talk to him. The guilt was too much. A couple days after I got back from school, I was brought into Mr. Haley's office, and God spoke through him directly to me. There, I told him the mistakes I had made and the ways in which I had led others astray, and he forgave me. I called my parents around midnight, and when their tired voices answered the phone, the floodgates of my heart broke open and a stream of emotions and confessions poured forth. I wanted a relationship with them again. I wanted a relationship with God. That night, I talked to God, and I went to bed with peace in my heart for the first time in a long time. Ever since then, God has worked wonders in my life. However, letting God take full control has definitely been a process. Many times we attempt to paint our canvas all on our own. We understand and acknowledge that we can't do anything on our own, yet we still persist in our ways of independence and work-based faith. The most incredible part of my story is that God has finally brought me to the place where I no longer depend upon myself. God has shown me from the very beginning that he has a great purpose for my life. But early on in my experience, I was not dependent upon the very one who gave me that purpose. I put everything I had into becoming the good Christian that I was supposed to be, the good Christian that I wanted to be. I would do well. It seemed for a short while, but eventually I would fall. And when I did, I experienced so much sorrow, so much doubt. Why can I not get this right? What does it take to be like the other spiritual giants in my life? How can I continue in the way when the way is simply too hard? I turned to God with a cry for help, and friends, the hand of the infinite reached over the battlements of heaven and grasped mine in its strong embrace with a promise that in my weakness, God has perfect strength. He gave me a promise that my insufficiencies mean nothing because he who holds the stars can make up for my inadequacy. This was a very humbling yet joyful experience for a wretch like me who had known nothing but spiritual failure. Finally realizing that it wasn't about my performance, it was about a relationship. So it was here at the cross that the burden of my heart rolled away. To think that at my lowest points, Christ is bending over me in love and compassion is incredible. To think that he wants so much to guide my brush is unfathomable. Because you see, I've done nothing to deserve it. The question for all of us is, how long will we, God's people, put off complete surrender? The Master longs to guide your brush. Will you let him?